It was rather easy for her. And she went on not even lying, she knocked on every door and asked people what they want. And from those things, that's how she got her platform, which is, in my opinion, the best thing to do as a congressional leader. Now, I'm not saying that her personal view, she even said in her goodbye video as Congresswoman, she said that my views as in Congress were not my personal views, but you know what? I put them aside and I put your values as first. That's what she
Graham
said.
was
right,
more
Kenan?
conservative than 91% of Democrats in the House.
Okay, but you know what? She listened to her thing. Yeah, but at least right. Kenan, I'm going to ask you again. Do you want DeSantis or do you want Graham? Which one would you rather have? Would you rather have a guy who called Gillum a monkey, or would you rather have a lady who actually might put the environment first, economy first, and healthcare first?
No, but this is
okay. But I'm going to ask you though, because you're saying it like that. If Gwen Graham won, you would support DeSantis. I don't understand you.
I absolutely wouldn't. But I'm telling you, you can see in the primary, Gwen Graham did not motivate.
She did.
She
did though.
Left. No, she
actually,
did the cities.
Maybe not the left, but you know what, Kenan? Well,
you
know what?
need your base to win. You cannot abandon your base. You cannot abandon your base.
That's because the young kids who decide to go out and vote in the primary, but then say, you know what, I'm going to sit back and relax and not go and vote in the general election.
Okay, but James,
the kids who voted for Gillum in the primary were not in school yet.
More voter turnout in the general elections always, so that's irrelevant. I don't know where you're getting that fact.
Well, then why didn't Gillum win? Because if even looking at analyzing the primary results and how many people vote in the Democrat compared to the Republican primary, there are more energized Democrats when I vote. And according to exit polls, 68% of the people who voted in the primary were kids under the age of 25. Okay, not only that, but also looking at the general election, only 47% of the people who voted in the general election were under the age of 25. All right. The kids did not go out and vote in big numbers like they should have. I think that they should have definitely gone out in bigger numbers. I mean, thinking about this, the polls had Gillum up literally almost every poll. And so my guess as to why a lot of the young kids did not go out and vote big in the general election was because of the fact that they thought that he would be fine. A lot of the kids also didn't do absentee ballots because absentee ballots aren't counted until
that's all speculation.
0.5. But you know what, Kenan?
That's all speculation.
But then he would have won. We wouldn't have to raise this DeSantis as the next Florida governor. He would have won. Gwen Graham would have won.
Even less of the young vote. Okay?
Actually, well, she would have gotten the moderate Republicans who didn't even vote. She would have got the moderate Republicans who didn't even vote in this election because they didn't like Ron DeSantis.
That's not true.
That is true. Look at articles. I read an article about where a moderate Republican went on the article, and he was like, I cannot support DeSantis because he is too conservative for Florida. I wish that Gwen Graham won the primary, so I actually could have voted this year. There were many moderate Republicans who said that.
All right, let's get
and even moderate Democrats.
You want to do anecdotal? You want to do anecdotal? Let's do anecdotal. Indiana, Joe Donnelly. He ran as basically a Republican light. He got his ass handed to him. Okay.
Well, Gwen Graham does not have a
Hillary Clinton.
She
ran a census campaign
like Joe Donnelly.
She got defeated by Donald Trump. Gwen Graham, she did not energize the Democratic base in the primary. You can see that, and without your base energized, you cannot win.
Well, that's actually kind of funny because I think that a lot of people definitely would have gone for Graham, and I think she definitely would have won this election. And Joe Donnelly, if you're going to compare Gwen Graham and Joe Donnelly, that's like comparing a criminal to someone who just got out of college and is clean. Joe Donnelly moved jobs to Mexico. Joe Donnelly has a lot of scandals, all right? Gwen Graham has not one scandal. She puts Florida first. Donnelly puts Mexico first. He doesn't even put Indiana first. He literally transports jobs out of this country. There's a reason why every campaign stop he had in Indiana, they would have a Mexican band there at the end for him, because it was as a joke that the Republican Party paid for to try to show people that he's selling jobs to Mexico. Yeah. And if you look at Indiana, they went for Trump by like 28%. Florida went for Trump by like literally 1.4%. So obviously he was going to go Republican. That's like North Dakota and Missouri. Those three states all went for Trump by huge margins. You can't compare him to that. The only state you could probably compare Florida
all
to
the states that flipped for Trump, they were moderate Democrats.
Okay,
that's what it was.
You know what though? But you need to go to their background. Claire McCaskill, she had a undercover video saying that anyone can afford a private jet. She also has some shady deals.
But that's the only thing. That's not the only thing that would flip hundreds of thousands of people.
Well, actually, it was because people didn't like her. People didn't like her.
It's her lost.
No, it wasn't her policies. Actually, it was actually herself. She never went to. She never campaigned.
One recording of
Search it up. Claire Catskill.
Gwen Graham. Okay, let's go back to Gwen Graham.
Go back to Gwen Graham.
Would have lost.
No, she wouldn't have.
Lost.
Kenan, I'm gonna tell you
less voter turnout.
I would have told you how she wouldn't have, though, Kenan, because independents went for Ron DeSantis 68%. Independents are typically moderate, especially in a state like Florida, where for Charlie Crist, they went 48% for Rick Scott, 52% for Charlie Crist. Look at Bill Nelson. Bill Nelson got 54% of independents, all right? And Nelson's difference between Rick Scott was much smaller than racist DeSantis compared to Gillum. All right. If Gwen Graham had won this
Bill Nelson was
race,
an incumbent. Obviously, you would get more votes.
Okay, yeah, but Gillum knew. People knew who Gillum was, and people knew who DeSantis was.
No, not before the primary. Not before the primary.
No, I'm talking about the general election. I know not before the primary. Obviously, not before the primary.
And there's a lot of people
Yeah, but until Trump endorsed DeSantis, Putnam was on track to become the Republican nominee, which that would have been if Gwen Graham and Putnam went against each other, that would have been a really easy Republican win in the sense that Putnam, again, I've told you this before, he was more moderate than DeSantis was, which is why a lot of the independents and moderate Republicans definitely would have ran towards him. But a lot of the moderate Republicans, I've read even articles about people even in the independents.
Okay, but James, can I list something else?
Yeah, sure.
One more thing. The Republicans have had the governor in Florida since 1994.
Yeah.
Gillum has been the closest Democratic opponent to the Republicans since 1994.
Well, Gwen Graham would have been the.
So he did better than his past. Well, let me count: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Democratic opponents before him.
Yeah, but all the Democrats they had scandals behind them. Look at Charlie Crist. Look at Alex Sink. Alex Sink had a big financial scandal with her CFO job. Charlie Crist was shady because he literally changed parties to try to win the governorship. I don't really know if that's just me.
I don't really think that turns people off.
You can cherry pick. You can cherry pick, and you can list like random facts.
No, they're not random. They're true facts. Charlie Crist changed his party. Look at it. Charlie Crist was governor before Rick Scott, and then he changed his party, a Democrat, to try to beat Rick Scott. That is not a cherry pick. That is a fact. He did that to try to undermine the Floridian voters to try to vote for him.
Andrew Gillum performed better than the past 5.
Yes, I know that, Kenan, but you know what? Gwen Graham would have performed better than him as winning, actually.
I think it's
Gwen Graham doesn't have any sort of bad
Gwen
problems.
Graham would have done better.
I think it's very, very hard to say that because we just don't.
I think she. No,
we really don't know that because we have. I think it very much could have gone either way for Gillum, and it very much could have gone either way for Gwen Graham. Because I do agree that Gwen Graham.
I do believe that
would have gotten out some of the more moderate Republicans, and I think it would have been very hard for Andrew Gillum to get out those moderate Republicans, but he could have gotten out some people, the people who are voted for Trump, but still because of his populist positions, which I think certainly do exist in Florida. I mean, if you have those people who support him for his populist positions, they could be put onto Gillum, and I think Gillum did definitely make a big mistake in campaigning with W. Wasserman Schultz and campaigning with Hillary Clinton and all those people. I think that was not what he had to do because he was positioning himself way too close to Gwen Graham. What he could have done and should have done, in my opinion, is come around and kind of get more votes from people who are dissatisfied with Trump, but voted kind of like the Rich Rogetta type voter who voted for him because of his policies and is not satisfied with the way things turn out. By the way, 3,000 votes disappeared from Florida's recount.
Yeah, I know. I saw that
was it was a very tight margin. So I think it really could have gone either way. There was a lot of voter suppression problems that we talked about on election day. Me and James did, but still. I think it very clear that it could have gone either way, and I think,
I was just predicting that because also Gwen Graham's dad, Bob Graham, was a former governor and senator, and he had the highest approval rating of any Democrat in that state. He had an 84% approval rating, Bob Graham. He was a very popular man in Florida. He got, I think, 2 terms in the Senate and 2 terms as the governor. Or actually, no, I think 3 terms actually as governor when they actually allowed that back then. That's how many people actually liked Bob Graham. And I think that's also what was going for Gwen. And the other thing that was going for Gwen as well, though, is she definitely would have weakened the North Florida strongholds that the Republicans have. Not because she was a congresswoman there, because she's from there and she knows that area very well and people like her. She was one of the only people who actually, DeSantis didn't go there during the hurricane problem. Gillum was there, yeah, but Graham was also there as well. I think that Gillum and Graham definitely did both a good job. DeSantis wasn't there. I think the other thing that would have definitely helped Graham was Central Florida. That probably definitely would have gotten Central Florida in some areas that definitely probably could have weakened Republican strongholds. I'm not saying she's going to win across the board. Every state, every county is going to go blue. I think Gwen Graham definitely would have weakened the Republican strongholds that they've been having there for so many years in Florida. And honestly, if it's up to me, if Gwen Graham won the primary, the only thing I got to ask myself is, would I rather have DeSantis or Graham? I probably would rather have Graham. Would I rather have DeSantis or Gillum? I would obviously support Gillum. I'm not going to support DeSantis. I'm not saying that Gillum's a bad candidate. I think that Gillum did not campaign in the correct ways that a Floridian Democrat definitely should have. He campaigned the ways that a New York City Democrat did. He campaigned in the big cities. He campaigned with horrible Democrats. He campaigned with Democrats Debbie Waste ashore, who got in so many ethics investigations. She literally helped the election go to Hillary by cheating. Why would you want to help? And first off, he didn't even support Hillary. Why is he going to go with someone who supported Hillary 110%? I mean, that's like a retarded way to go.
Yeah, who literally gave Hillary the primary win.
Yeah, and
on a silver platter.
Not even to mention the fact that Gillum was also stuck in an FBI probe in his city. That is also the other reason why people probably looked at him with a black eye, like looking at him with a dark eye. The other thing that DeSantis had a dark eye looking at was his monkey this up comment. You know, why are we going to elect a guy who's going to monkey this up by embracing the socialist agenda? You know, that probably was a black guy, but you know what? He did that.
That was probably a black guy for DeSantis.
And that got brainwashed. But you know what? That got brainwashed out of the Floridian voters, sadly, because he did it right after the primary. Sadly, it got brainwashed out of the voters, and Gillum did not bring it up again a lot during the debates, which I think he should have. Gillum definitely beat DeSantis in the debates, but I think he definitely should have reminded voters that this is the man who said that I'm going to monkey this thing up by embracing a socialist agenda. He should have brought that up so that people remember by saying, oh yeah, that's the guy who said that after the primary. He didn't for some reason. And really the reason why he lost was because he did really bad campaigning. DeSantis had a very strong hold amongst Republicans, and Gillum had a strong hold amongst Democrats. But the independents and the moderates were kind of left out of this race, which is, I think, the reason why DeSantis might have gotten pushed over the top, because I think a lot of the moderate Republicans were like, well, do I really want to vote for a guy who's like super left, or do I really want to vote for a guy who's super right? I don't really know. I mean, Darcy Robinson did get a pretty high amount of votes, the Reform Party line. I think he got 2.4%, which definitely, I mean, if you took that out and gave it to Gillum or gave it to DeSantis, their wins would have definitely been bigger and better. So I think that I'm not saying they should change their views. I'm not saying that DeSantis should have changed his views less far right. I think that what Gillum should have done was, I think Gillum should have chose Gwen Graham as his lieutenant governor pick, though. I think that would have been a good pick to choose, because she would have helped him get. She would have helped him. No, but you know what? I'm going to tell you why, though, because she would have helped him get the strongholds of the moderate voters. She would have got Key West. She would have helped him get Key West, which went to DeSantis by 1,000 votes. She would have helped him get Central Florida, which just like inflating DeSantis's win. DeSantis probably definitely would have won Central Florida by a big margin, but I mean, with Gwen Graham definitely on his team, it would have definitely helped deflate his huge lead.
All right, yeah. And then we are going to just quickly move on now to our last story. We got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez backing campaign to primary fellow Democrats. Very, very controversial move, but actually something that did take place in the last election that did lead to some pretty big success for the Democrats. I mean, if you call the House pickups a success, which I do. Representative-elect Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Saturday threw her weight behind a new national campaign about primaries against incumbents Democrats deemed to be too ideologically and demographically out of step with their districts. The incoming star congresswoman from New York again put the Democratic establishment on notice that she and activist groups on the left are not content with the Democratic-controlled House there, determined to move to the party to the left. That's Politico reporting there. And, saying Ocasio-Cortez said, long story short, I need to run for office in a campaign dubbed #OurTimeForJustice Democrats. And she's someone who just